From the Nick and Izzy Network Studios in New York, this is The Hirsh Show. Tonight's guest from the 90s pop group Dream Street, Greg Raposo. And now, here's your host, Kyle Hirshon.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the very first episode of The Hirsh Show. I'm your host, Kyle Hirshon, and thank you so much for joining us today. I want to thank the Nick and Izzy Network for letting me do something that I've been doing for many years, and that is doing interviews. So over the course of the year, we'll be posting new interviews with our special guests starting every Sunday afternoon at 5. We'll also be featuring an audio version of the show for you to listen to on the go with our friends at Buzzsprout and all major podcasting platforms. So my guest today, my very first guest, by the way, has hit the charts in the 90s as a member of the boy band Dream Street and has been featured as an artist on Radio Disney and has been selling music ever since. Please welcome to our very first show, Mr. Greg Raposo. Greg, how are you?
How's it going? Thank you so much for having me. What an honor. I had no idea I was going to be numero uno.
Numero uno. Yes, this is a very exciting time for all of us. And of course, we're still in quarantine because of, the ever rising COVID cases. So first of all, how are you, the kids, and everybody else?
Doing well. We're healthy. We're safe. And, I couldn't ask for more than that.
Yeah, for those who haven't been keeping up with the Dream Street lately, you're a father now. You have 3 kids, right?
Times 3. Honestly, I woke up one morning, there were 3 of them standing there, and I don't even know where they came from. That's honestly how it feels.
So you're a fellow Islander, you grew up in Manhasset. I grew up in Comac, so, we're not too far from each other. So we've always had that New York aspect in our blood.
I have to correct you. I consider myself Queens-born.
Queens-born.
So I grew up in Douglaston, which is just right on the border of Long Island and Queens.
Gotcha.
And I did spend my high school years in Long Island, but I have been back in Queens where I live now.
That's
for,
good.
A little over a decade.
Were you a singer as a child before Dream Street, or what came about?
Yeah, so Dream Street was an audition like any other. Originally, it was supposed to actually be a Broadway show.
Oh, really?
Something most people don't know. And Broadway's known as the Street of Dreams, hence, the name Dream Street.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I had got my start in music professionally around the time I was 9. And then one thing led to the next. It's a snowball effect, but Dream Street was just kind of another one of those auditions, like the hundreds of others I had been on. And like I mentioned, it was supposed to be, this was right around the time there was reality TV. So yes. I guess it was what Jersey Shore, were they the pioneers?
I guess.
And it was, taken off, and the producers had this idea to come up with a concept for reality Broadway, where they would have a script, and it'd be your typical type of a Broadway show of these 5 boys who, want to be in a band, and they want to get on the radio and get signed, and the whole storyline tells how they get together, and then at the end they get signed and their song gets on the radio, and then the reality twist would be to be driving home and you turn the radio on and that song would actually be on the radio. That's what they were going for. The song ends up getting on the radio, Radio Disney specifically, and doing really well. And the momentum of that just was so much faster than what they were able to do putting together the Broadway show, that we ended up just becoming an actual boy band versus cast members of this Broadway show that it was, originally supposed to be.
Yeah, and speaking of Radio Disney, I think they're shutting down in like maybe a week or 2. I know they've been belly up since because of the pandemic, but that was what I grew up with. I was so sad when I heard about that.
Yeah, a good friend of mine, Kelly Carey, who worked for Radio Disney for many years, was the first one to tell me. She sent me a link. But it's Radio Disney is like a family for a lot of people who were lucky to have touched it or have been a part of it, but I definitely feel extra blessed that I got to have so many Radio Disney memories and people that I still know and speak to today that come from, good old Radio Disney.
Yeah, you got a lot of airplay, in the early days, especially It Happens Every Time. And I know you did a thing with Stevie Brock and Frankie. Three
No,
is the magic. Was
Rob
that?
and Matt.
And Matt, okay.
And funny story, that song is at the end of the Goofy movie on the DVD, which is like just a very random thing. And I will hear from family members and friends and people who I haven't talked to in who knows how long, and been like, do you know that my kids were just watching the Goofy movie and then all of a sudden you were singing a song on the screen? But yeah, it's feature from the Goofy movie.
That's so cool. And when you guys took off with It Happens Every Time, that took off, right?
That was the single, yes.
That was, yeah. So it's like you were everywhere. You were doing like the malls, the TV circuit. What was like the craziest like TV or tour moment that you experienced during that period?
There were so many, but one that stands out was a time that we were walking. It was a mall tour. I think it was being sponsored by Spencer's, which is a shoe company. I don't even know if they're around anymore.
I think they are, but I think they sell more than just shoes.
Okay. But we were walking back to whatever green room they had made up for us. And for some reason, there was either too little security or no security, whatever it was. We turned this corner and there were hundreds, if not more, girls just like running, beelining it straight for us. And like, honestly, it was probably a pretty dangerous situation.
I can imagine that, yeah.
Where we all had to like turn and like head for the hills and like just make it back into this room. But it was like super exciting and we were obviously cracking up and we thought it was hilarious, as we were also pretty scared for our lives. But yeah, there's just so many. That one definitely stands out for sure.
Yeah, because I mean, who else would be like, oh my God, they're going after me? I thought maybe like Paul McCartney or somebody was here. I don't know. So going back a little bit before Dream City, you were featured on a station that I used to be affiliated with, WPLJ, as the Elvis Kid. Explain what was going on.
So my aunt was a big PLJ fan, and they were doing these diner tours, and she knew that I loved singing and music and thought that I'd be interested in going to check one out, which I was. I think I was maybe nine was a big year for me. I had a lot of things happen for me at that time. But we went to go to this diner tour, and I think I was just waiting online to get their autographs or take a picture with the DJs. And I was always a very outspoken kid, never shy. Definitely was a big part of even who I was as a performer. But I think I just said to Scott Shannon, like, hey, like I sing. Can I sing you a song or just something like that? Like I have my guitar in the car, like, can I go get it and like rock out for you? And he was just like, well, what do you sing? I was like, what do you like? And Scott Shannon happens to be an Elvis fan. Mm-hmm. My dad is a big Elvis fan. So that was like, I have plenty of Elvis in my repertoire. And I was like, yeah, you name it. You got it. Which one? Hound Dog? I'll be right back. So I run to the car. I tell my aunt, I was like, oh, he said yes. And she's like, what do you mean he said yes? And I'm like, yeah, I got to go get the guitar. Run to get it. When I come back, they had 2 mics set up.
Oh.
I mean, this was like pretty ballsy on their part. They had no idea who I was, what I was about to do, but I guess I was young enough and charismatic enough that they were like, let's just see what happens. And when I came back live on the air, they were like, hey guys, so this kid just walked up to me and said he wanted to sing us a song. what's your name, buddy? What are you gonna sing? And I'm like, my name's, Greg Raposo. I'm gonna sing Hound Dog, and here we go. And I just
started going for it.
I started doing the hips and the whole the leg thing.
Wow, you did the whole shebang and everything.
Yeah, the place went wild, and then they ended up inviting me back again and again and again, and I ended up doing a handful of these diner tours with them. And again, like I mentioned earlier, with the snowball effect, like, that led to interviews, to being on news stations, to eventually getting back to Priscilla Presley, and getting a phone call from her and being invited to Graceland and getting to perform there, where I had members of Elvis's band backing me up, like his drummer was playing drums for me. The Jordanaires, who were really famous background singers, did my backups.
Wow.
And I think that was at like 11 something, by the time I was maybe 11. So yeah, I mean, it just kept going from one thing to the next.
It's incredible. I mean, because from what I'm seeing, you were the only child invited to perform at that concert in Graceland.
It was the 20th anniversary since Elvis had passed away, and they had a big show called the Elvis Spectacular, and they had like an Elvis from every country.
Wow.
And they had me because I'm half Italian, so they had me representing Italy and actually in America.
Wow.
But it was cool. Yeah, it was a cool time.
That's really cool. So now we go to Dream Street. You're working with Frankie, Matt, Chris, and Jesse. You starting together, and then 2002 hits, and all of a sudden you're gone. So I understand from reading from what I'm reading, I guess the producers and your folks had a somewhat of a disagreement with each other. Is that right?
Yeah. So we were all under 18. And therefore our parents pretty much ran the show. Anything that had to do with business and contracts and anything like that, they were talking with lawyers and they were negotiating who knows what. And as I started Dream Street when I was 13. And it was a group called Boy Wonder before it was Dream Street. Right. It was actually Chris and I and 3 other boys. We worked for a year, and then after the end of that year, they got rid of 3 kids, kept Chris and I, and brought in Frankie, Matt, and Jesse. And yeah, I mean, it was a long time, but we were just having fun, really, just performing and doing what we love. And it really wasn't, whatever was going on behind the scenes, I could honestly have cared less. I was just like living my best life. I had fans. I had, all kinds of new friends from it. I had a new family, being in the group, a second family, if you will. And, when it fell apart, it partially didn't feel real. You feel so invincible already as a teenager, and it's like, oh, like this is no big deal. Like, it's, I'm gonna do whatever else I'm gonna do, and it's gonna open that up. And I never had a moment where I really felt like, oh my God, it's all over. I can't believe it. I'm, so upset. It was always fun and games, and it was always exciting, and I was still always extremely optimistic that everything was happening the way it was meant to. So yeah, I mean, it was in hindsight, one of the biggest, or if not the biggest, in popularity accomplishment that I had made in my entertainment career. But then again, I did a lot of different things, and some that I would personally consider more successful than Dream Street. But yeah, it was a great time. It's crazy that 20 years later, people still want to talk about it and ask me questions about it, and take pictures or whatever it is. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, you know, speaking of your own music, you've released a couple of records. Most recently, "Lost Love and Life" was one of your most recent records. Now, I was in awe that you titled it after your late cousin, and you started a Kickstarter to get this thing going. And you know, I thought you know this record must be genuine, and I listened to it earlier today, and I thought it was fantastic.
Thank
Uh,
you. Thank you.
so what when you started as a solo artist, when you started as a solo artist, what was going through your head? What kind of music did you want to create?
So I started writing music when I was 6. The first song I wrote was a theme song for the Three Musketeers, and I never stopped writing music. I was writing music my whole life. I remember writing music for Dream Street and pitching it to the producers and being like, "Hey, look at this song I wrote. Maybe we can, do it." At the time we were working with the songwriters who the same guy who wrote It Happens Every Time wrote Hit Me Baby One More Time, the Britney Spears song.
Yeah,
So obviously, pretty high caliber of songwriter. I think like from Sweden, those Swede guys.
I think it was Max Martin. Was that right? He might be the producer.
Might have been involved. There's usually like 5 or 6 guys on every one of those tracks. But no, I had always been writing music. So the types of music I've written throughout the years have changed as I have. But at that time, being a solo artist was very natural to me. I genuinely, always felt like I'd be the front man of a band. I've been playing guitar since I was 4 years old, I think, when I picked up the first guitar. And even in Dream Street, I always kind of felt like it was a stepping stone for me to get to, doing my own thing where I'm writing my own music and I'm playing with my own band. And, I never dreamed I was going to be in a boy band. I never took a dance class. I just, 4 out of 5 of us, honestly, were winging it up there as dancers. But we made it work and we had a great time doing it. So
yeah. So I want to bring this up real quick. I was listening to a record from Foreigner, and one of their songs, for a moment, I'm like, that sound is familiar. Now, I don't know if you can hear this, but I'm going to play this part of a song called When It Comes to Love.
Giving your heart to me. But when it comes to love, I should know better. When it comes to love, I'll take the blame. 'Cause you are the one I should have held on to.
So when I heard that part, I heard It Happens Every Time. So I've taken the liberty and I've combined the two, and this is what I came up with.
Giving your heart to me. When it comes to love, I should know better. When it comes to love, I'll take the blame.
There's the light bulb.
that helped. That helped. I didn't hear it the first time, to tell you the truth, but that one, yeah, I definitely see what you did there. Well done.
Yeah. And I'm like, did Foreigner steal from Dream Street?
Well,
Obviously, no. It's the same chord progression, but obviously they didn't think.
Dream Street steal from Foreigner.
Oh, yeah. Well, that record was, I think, 2009, so that was way after you guys were done.
Foreigner came out with that after?
Yeah, that's 2009.
Oh, no way.
So I always thought, okay.
What an honor.
So I brought that over to my friends and like, dude, you're crazy.
No, I'm gonna stand with you on that. I support that claim.
You can tell everybody like, hey, Foreigner stole our music.
Yeah.
and please don't DMCA us, Foreigner. We can't afford that. Lastly, before we end today, you guys got back together virtually, obviously, on a very sad note, losing Chris from COVID. That was a very tough loss, I would assume. Did you immediately think, to bring everybody back together for this one last performance?
Um, that all happened very organically. That was something that when I found out, I knew I was going to be doing, regardless of anybody else joining me. Um, Actually, it was already on my to-do list because a couple months before I had my birthday Zoom concert, and I did that pretty much that exact acoustic cover of It Happens Every Time myself. And I got a lot of requests to record it, and they were like, "Oh, it sounded so nice. Can you like make a recording so I can like hear it more often?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah," when I get around to it, which I hadn't yet. So yeah, when I found out about that, um, I find that when I experience tragedy, I end up turning to my music, and it's a coping mechanism for me. It's something that really helps me get through really tough times. So yeah, that was part just me and my own therapy, and then it started coming out really nice. So I, figured I might as well offer if they wanted to join me on it or not. I had no real expectations that they were going to, but I didn't even really have to ask. They were basically like, "So, what are we doing? How can
Yeah.
what can we do?"
Yeah, and it went viral on YouTube. It's got about 300, 400,000 hits, and I'm looking at some comments. This girl Monica said, "Crying like a baby. The reunion we've wanted for so long, but not in this way." Um, you know, and I can see that this was something that weighed heavily on all of you. I mean, um, you, Frankie, Matt, and Jesse just handled it like champs. Um, I'm not going to say that I was surprised that Jesse did it, but I was glad that he did it. Um, this was something all five of you, well, now all four of you grew up with. You all grew up with Chris, and you know, uh, this is why people need to take COVID-19 very seriously. Because it can happen to anyone, and that's why we all got to do our part.
Yeah, yeah.
So, Greg, is there any new music that you are planning to possibly create this year?
So I have been actually working in a new project called City Country. It is a country music, New York country music vibe that I've been doing for a couple years with a friend of mine who lives in Jersey. We get together once a week and write music. We have like over 100 songs that we've written, and we partnered with a team in Nashville where we send the songs down to them, and we were able to record remotely. So we released an EP. We have, I think, like 6 songs out there under City Country, which you can check out. We're in the process now of picking our next 6 to do. I made a little video for one of them, and it's been a lot of fun. So you can definitely check that out. And aside from the City Country thing, I just got myself involved in a restaurant business, Peri Peri Guys, which is something I don't think too many people are doing in the middle of a pandemic, but
Yeah.
uh, but it's been going really well so far. It was something we had committed to, and didn't make sense to pull out of, and so far so good. And it's still we still haven't even done any real marketing or advertising on it yet. It's just been like a word of mouth situation until we really iron down what we're all about. And yeah, within the next few months, you're probably going to be hearing from me, talking a lot about that and putting that out there.
Yeah, I mean, you heard it first, guys. Was Peri Peri, guys? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, it's grilled chicken, healthy,
Ooh.
fast, casual food, different spice levels, super, super flavorful. And yeah, I mean, a lot of people really love the peri peri sauce and they know about it, but they haven't tried ours. I've tried them all. We've actually traveled to many different places trying it, and I personally feel that ours is better than any other sauce you can find. But maybe I'm a little biased. But you know, you got to see for yourself. I think it's one of a kind.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to hit that up maybe once this whole thing is over. Greg Raposo, thank you so much for coming on our show today.
Thank
Uh,
you for having me.
yeah, this is a very exciting time for all of us, and especially my friends and my producers Nick and Izzy were very thankful to give me a show on their brand new network. And next week we're gonna have Noel McNeil, Bear in the Big Blue House, is gonna join us, and so you're gonna enjoy that. Greg Raposo, thank you so much for coming on once again, and we'll see you guys next time. Stay safe.
Rock and roll.